change to the world on some level, and maybe in some ways he makes the world adapt and change.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Batman is
Exactly.
dysfunctional. Oh, absolutely, he's totally dysfunctional. But Green Lantern's got built-in conflicts too. The Flash has built-in conflicts as well,
And that's why
right?
you appreciate those characters so much.
Yeah, and so right, so that's you have these like even right. That's the challenge. But I have no idea. I have no idea what that was exactly. Oh,
Oh,
okay. But
yeah.
anyway, no, it's one of those. It's one of those things where you look at it and you recognize the fact that um, that's that's the thing. Like you got to look at these characters. You got to be very honest about who they are and where you can go with them.
Mm-hmm.
You got to recognize with Superman and Wonder Woman in particular. There's only so far you can go. Now you can go a little farther with Wonder Woman than you can with Superman.
Right, right.
But you
That's why it's like such a problem to have like the perfect character, those Mary Sue. Not that, not that they're not good characters, but just that they are the ideals. They have, like you said, less to stretch. You know what I mean? Superman's not going to go and do the wrong thing. He's going to do what he believes is morally right.
Or if he does the wrong thing, you have to be very specific as to why. Like there has to be a reason to break.
He's still going to follow his moral compass, no matter what. And that, I think that's what we love, like the anti-hero. Now, I don't personally love the anti-hero, but as a society, I feel like we really do love the anti-hero, that kind of like the guy who is bad but happens to do the good thing. Perhaps for the wrong reasons. But I love the reluctant hero. That person that is just like, I was a normal, everyday person, and maybe I wanted more in my life, but I didn't necessarily ask to be like the hero and do this great, amazing thing and save everyone. I love that because you can have the flaws, you can have the vulnerabilities, you can have the doubting, you can have everything that like we as people relate to and really root for and really fall in love with and connect to, without them like having that necessarily like morally gray. Like if you're a jerk, like I'm not going to love you as a character, you know what I mean? But like a lot of people do love the anti-hero, like Loki. How many Loki fans are there out in the world? But like the reluctant hero, that's where it is for me. That's my sweet spot.
So I say there's four kinds of heroes.
Mm-hmm.
King Arthur, which is Superman, Wonder Woman, like they're in the King Arthur realm.
Okay.
Percival, Spider-Man, right? Is the example. But I mean, there's others like Green Lantern, Kyle Rayner, Green Lantern in particular. That one, like the hero's journey, they grow and become bigger heroes. A lot of like young adult novels are Percival's, almost all of them, right? There's a hero's journey. The Jonas, which is like almost the reluctant hero. Jonah goes and says, "Hey, listen, I need you to go to Nineveh." Fuck Nineveh, I'm going fishing. Then the whale swallows him whole, and then he ends up there anyway. Which is a great literary example of this is Matt Cawthon of The Wheel of Time. He literally falls asleep in the barn, wakes up in the middle of the battle, right? Because I'm getting out of here. And he wakes up, right? He's like, God damn it, I'm not escaping this. Like, no, it's gonna come to you. That's just how it works. That's how the universe works. So that's that's the reluctant hero. Like I find like Flashman's another one, the reluctant hero, and then there's like the trickster, like the anti-hero. The anti-hero is so I feel like the anti-hero thing is it's like this. I think people like anti-heroes because good anti-heroes show the flaws in our culture and our society, and a very like if you all famous anti-heroes, Robert De Niro's Taxi Driver is probably one of the most famous ones, right? He's an anti-hero, but he's sympathetic because you understand his plight. Robin Hood is the original anti-hero, right? Robs from the rich, gives to the poor. Anti-heroes, by their definition, like you cannot have a story filled with anti-heroes. You have to have you can have shades of gray, but you can't have the you can't have the what's the term? A fully shaded gray character, because what happens is now you kind of cross into this weird noir thing, and noir is not for everybody, right? So you need, when you have an anti-hero as your protagonist, or they can even be unlikable. They don't have to be a like character. They have to have a good villain always realizes where they're right, especially because they might have a point to what they do. An anti-hero has a similar vein. There's a very fine line though. The villain and the anti-hero both believe they are right, but the anti-hero is on a journey either to make something right, even if it means a nefarious means to get there, because the world seems to be a nefarious place at the best of times, or they become the villain. At some point, they become the true villain of the story. There's no middle ground. They either go one way or the other, right? A good Les Miserables, Jean Valjean, great anti-hero, right? A great anti-hero. He became, quote unquote, a good person, and the inspector, who was kind of a good person by like going for a good moral upstanding, became the villain.
Right.
Time again on in the story. Because of their positions. People understand, like, especially in a time like this, for example, where people are losing their jobs, people are being put in some very inhumane things right now, because it's been a very cruel time. As a result, an anti-hero becomes very sympathetic, especially if they point out all the flaws and hypocrisy going on right now. Right? If you can point that out, it's going to resonate, because people are going to say, he's right. He's absolutely right. Now, it doesn't mean his actions are right. It doesn't mean that what he or she does is justified. That's a different question. But that's where anti-heroes serve as a important part of any story building. It's simply the fact is they exist because in our culture, where our imperfections are very glaringly obvious, that's where they reside. Otherwise, they're not anti-heroes, they're villains. No matter how good they are, they're villains. I think the best example of a villain that was so good he didn't realize it was Gul Dukat of DS9. He was a monster the whole series. But he was charming, he was witty, he had some humanity and compassion to him. He wasn't one-dimensional at all, not until the very end of the series. But that journey for him was always going to be that journey for him. There was no other place for him to go, because of just who he could not accept where he was truly the bad guy. Right? He tried to justify it always. Oh yeah, no, Dukat was the absolute one of the best villains ever, because he was so and this is also credit to the actor Marco Lamo. He was so good at being that character. He could make you believe that he was really a good guy, and that's the scariest villain of all. Actually.
Oh yeah.